Hi guys, and welcome to this quick free training on how to get a baseline for your website. This relates to performance of your website, usability, and also for search engine optimization. And as such, it really relates to how to get traffic long-term to your website. And the reason we need the baseline is whether you are just about to launch your first website, or maybe you've got multiple websites, or you have had your website live for 10 years or more. It's really about getting the baseline, seeing where you're at, and then being able to refine from that place forward to ensure that you're following all the current best practice protocols and then you really optimize your website on a consistent basis moving forward. So what I want to do today is show you a couple of free tools that you can use today to get your baseline for your site, and it will show you all the important ranking factors and different things that search engines specifically are going to be looking at when it comes to your website. So the first site I want you to come on to here is woorank.com. You'll see the URL at the top of the screen here. Now they offer a free first time scan. I suggest you don't opt for that because it gives you a really basic readout of the website. What I want you to do is go into the pricing area. Don't worry about the enterprise plan. That's really for agencies and teams that are using the system to scan like tens of different sites at a time. What I want you to do is go to the premium area here and go for a free trial. They offer a 14-day free trial, means you can get access to all the premium features. It gives you a much more detailed, in-depth scan of your website and a lot more information than, for instance, the pro level scan. It also allows you to run competitor analyses as well. So if you're a local business and you want to see how your competitors' websites are performing compared to yours, that's the way to go. So if we opt for premium, click the free trial. You don't have to continue with it after 14 days. So maybe set a reminder in your phone or whatever for 10, 12 days from now, you can cancel down the subscription. And it just means that you can get that free trial, get the free usage, get the scan of the baseline of your website. And it really gives you a step-by-step formatting for how to optimize your website moving forward. So opt for the free trial. What happens then is once you've subscribed, you come into the dashboard of WooRank, and that means that you can basically scan your website. Okay, so just to give you an example of how this works, I've already run the scan on evernote.com. So Evernote is like the app, for creating notes and so on. I've run a scan on their website just to show you how the resultant scan on your website is going to appear, and then I'll show you a couple of different scans that we can run afterwards. So when you come onto the WooRank dashboard, when you've set up your account, you can go up to this URL to review, put in your website there, hit the button on your website, and it will trawl your website. It'll pull all the valid information that they need in order to gauge what status your website is at, and it'll give you this report. Now the great thing about it is you can actually then download the PDF of the report just by clicking this button. It'll format it into a PDF and send it over to you, or slides. Also then you can do things like manage competitors. So like I said earlier, if you click that, you can add up to 3 competitors in your region, or it could be a global type thing, but you can add in those competitors and WooRank will scan their websites as well and give you the score that they get as well. So you can see where your website compares to theirs, where it's maybe falling behind and so on. So for instance, we'll go to the score that Evernote is getting right now. 93 is exceptional. Most websites will probably be in the 60s. 60s is even a very good score for most websites, and I'll show you the reason for that in a moment. But Evernote is a big business, it's a global business. They're getting 93, which means that they're doing almost everything exactly right. So what you look at here down the right hand side is this little navigation pane. You can look at the SEO, structured data, basically the code of the website, mobile compatibility, usability. All those factors will come into the rankings for your website, but they'll also feature into how your website performs when people land on it. So usability is really important. Mobile compatibility is equally as important for user experience as it is for search engine optimization, and then it'll give you a lot of other things like the technologies used on your website, the backlink score, social score, and a few other things as well. So as you scroll down the report, you'll see it starts with SEO. So it'll look at the title tag for your website, the meta description of your website, the headings on your website, even the keyword cloud, and the alt attributes. Alt attributes are really where you have imagery on your website. And what you can do at the back end, for instance, in WordPress, if your website is WordPress, which we normally recommend, you can actually go into each image and add an alt tag, and it really describes the image. It allows your images to actually get into search engines as well, and to form a better picture for the actual page or post that you're actually optimizing. So if you optimize the metadata, the keywords, the the image tags for your website, it allows your page to build a better picture for search engines. So there's things like that you want to look at. A lot of sort of general protocols for search engine optimization, things like broken links, www resolve. That just means if somebody types in https.www or http.www or www or no www, and they have your domain after all those things, it all resolves to the same place that you choose. So this obviously passes all that. Whether the sitemap is valid, it is. They've got an XML sitemap. XML sitemap is a really important protocol, which is just a little kind of file on your website that creates a skeleton outline of all the pages and posts and categories and media on your website, lays it out in a really nice, logical, easy to trawl way for search engines. So that's why if you don't have one of those, it means that the search engines can't appropriately trawl your website, and then you're going to get downgraded in the search engine results. Similarly, robots text is a tiny little file, text file, that basically says to search engines, you can scan this, you cannot scan that. And that's why it's important, is that some pages and posts within your website, you don't want them to scan necessarily. The sitemap is valid. It's got all the kind of green ticks. If you have a red X there, for instance, maybe your sitemap isn't accessible. If you've got a red X there, that's something that's really, really important. It means that you've got to attend to that right away and get a sitemap generated. Now, all of these things pretty much you can do yourself without any coding know-how. And in the course, Total Traffic Blueprint, I show you exactly how to do all these things. You know, generate an XML sitemap, add a robots text file, and so on. So you don't need to worry about it just now, but this scan is really just about getting that baseline. You'll see that pretty much everything is getting a red tick, which is great. Or sorry, a green tick, which is great. A couple of things are getting red X's: asset minification and asset compression. Those are things that you can't always do. I mean, I know our website actually has the red X for asset minification. Asset compression we have a green tick for, but it's ultimately not really affecting the score too much. If Evernote are getting 93 out of 100, it means that it is an exceptionally well optimized website. Then if we go down, you can look how well optimized your website is for mobile. If your website isn't optimized for mobile, like I said earlier, it's not going to be highly ranked by Google and other search engines. They brought in an algorithm change about 3-4 years ago, where they said if your mobile isn't mobile optimized, your mobile website isn't optimized, we will penalize you in mobile search. And as mobile search has grown, I think it's even more than 50% of all search, including desktop and so on. If your website isn't visible in mobile search, you're really cutting out 50 or more % of your potential traffic in search engines. So that's why it's so important that you make sure your website is mobile optimized. And again, in Total Traffic Blueprint, I'll show you the themes to use to make sure that from day one, if you launch your website, if needs be, that your website is mobile optimized from the ground up, so you don't need to worry about that kind of thing. So yeah, they don't have asset minification or asset compression as a top ranking score, but it's not really affecting what they're doing too much. They've got great trust indicators, which means that the website is trustworthy, and that's a huge thing within search engines. If search engines see that your website is trustworthy, that it is a high authority website, and that's all down to content and engagement. A lot of people come into your website over time. It's a long-term, kind of slow burn thing that you've got to build on your website with great content and engagement and sending a lot of traffic to it. whether you're sending the traffic from paid ads or organic search or viral content and so on, it doesn't really matter. But what search engines want to see is that your site is trustworthy, and for instance that your site is child safe, so it doesn't have inappropriate material or anything like that on it. So then as you work down, you get into things like security, SSL secure. You want to make sure that your website has a secure sockets layer certificate on top of it. That's the kind of thing that you can actually get your host to install. Normally like kind of a couple of clicks will install it, but that is really important. Again, when search engines see that your website is secure, they're much more likely to send traffic your way. The secure sockets layer just adds a layer of encryption on top of your website, but it's also important that you secure your website itself. So if you've got a WordPress website, you need to make sure you've got security software set up and optimized in there to make sure it's all locked down. You want to make sure that whoever you're using to host your website has a secure server side security protocol as well. If you're unsure and you need a good host, I recommend WP Engine. They're kind of WordPress specialists. If you're using WordPress, they've got pretty good security protocols, and also they offer a free SSL certificate. Other hosts maybe charge $60, $70, $80 a year for an SSL. Then you want to move on, you get things like backlink scores, and that's where if you're a small local business, you're probably not going to have great backlink scores. That's going to make the difference from maybe jumping from the mid 60s up into the 90s. You'll see that the backlink score for Evernote, for instance, is up to 38 and a bit million. And the backlink score, as in the quality of links referring traffic back into Evernote, is very good. So if you had a high backlinks counter but a very poor backlink score, you probably wouldn't get a lot of traction from that. But because they've got a very good score, a lot of high authority websites are sending traffic their way, and there's a great volume of backlinks and a lot of referring domains. It means that they're really pushing their score up. So if you're a small business and say, for instance, you run the scan on your website and you're only in the 60s, that's still a very good score for a local business or a new business especially. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. So if you are in the 60s, don't fret. You're probably unlikely to get it up into the 90s unless you really focus in on backlinks and the quality of backlinks, which is really important for search engine optimization as well. So that's what WooRank does. It gives you a lot of other factors. You want to just kind of work through, make sure your website is connected to your social platforms and it's all intercorrelated. Search engines will again recognize that. But if you work through systematically this scan and the results that come from it, you'll find that you're able to jump your website up. A lot of clients I find when we do the first scan on their website to come to optimize it are maybe getting in the 40s or early 50s, and we're able, just by working through this systematically, we're able to get them up into the 60s, maybe even the 70s, depending on some other factors to do with their website and their current level of search engine optimization. So that's how you get the baseline for the overall performance of your website related to things like search engine optimization, mobile compatibility, usability, technologies, and so on. Make sure that all of those you're really using the best practice protocols. Once you've done that, then, or even in tandem with this, what I suggest you do is go to Pingdom or tools.pingdom.com, and they will give you a free scan of the speed of your website. So you type in the URL of your website, test from probably the closest server from where you are normally, but you can basically test from around the world. Hit the start test, and then they'll scan your website just like WooRank did, and they will give you this readout of performance grade. So Evernote is getting an 86 out of 100, which is a B grade. So they maybe could perform some optimization there. They can maybe reduce the size of their page, and the load time you really want to have sub 2 seconds. So that's very good. 1 3/4 seconds is excellent. You want to make sure that the requests are minimal, so it's not your server isn't having to load like 30 different plugins that you're using on WordPress. Yeah, and it's got like 100 requests. That's not going to be good for load time or user experience, and ultimately search engines are going to recognize that as well. So what we want to do is really get our page size down around 2 megabytes, load time sub 2 seconds. If you get it even closer to 1 second, all the better. I certainly wouldn't be worrying about a B grade at 86. A lot of websites are, you know, getting D's and E's and F's, and that's not where you want to be. You want to get like a C or a B. The way to do that is to optimize things like the requests, like I'd said. So not use too many plugins, not have a lot of things loading on your page, minimize or compress the imagery on your website. Again, these are all things I'll show you how to do in the course itself, so don't worry about that at this stage. But you want to say your website, your page size is 20 megabytes. Well, that's pretty large, even with high-speed data these days. So you want to be looking at your web page. Maybe it's a very long web page, you need to shorten it. Maybe you use a lot of imagery, which the images have not been optimized for load speed. For instance, if you download a stock image from like iStock Photo or Elements at envato.com is what we use. If you download stock imagery there, quite often the images that you download are like 5, 6, 8 megabytes in size. They're high resolution images. If you load that to WordPress, for instance, even though they crunch it a little bit, it's still a big image. So what you want to be doing is, maybe your page size is at 20 megabytes and you've got like 30 images on the page. What you want to try and do is either reduce the number of images or compress the images further, so you're balancing high resolution images with load times, you know, how fast they load. So an 8 megabyte image is going to take a while to load on a page, but you can actually visually, you can get an 8 megabyte image down to maybe 600 kilobytes, which isn't a lot. But it'll load almost instantly, and to the naked eye, the sharpness and clarity of that image will not look any different than it does to the 8 megabyte image. So things like that you've got to be aware of as you go through and optimize the performance. But Pingdom is great. If you say, for instance, you didn't want to look after any of this and you wanted to get a programmer to optimize your website, what you should do is get the performance score from Evernote, download that, then get the performance score from Pingdom, download this. It gives them all this stuff is Greek to most people, but things to do with CSS and HTML and redirects and you know, different things that need to load, requests by domain, the DNS delays, SSL delays, all that kind of stuff is included in this scan. You'll see here what is causing the most delays in terms of load time. You could give that over to a programmer and just have them look after that and optimize your site. Or a lot of it, as I've said, is very easy to do yourself, even without any programming expertise. So it just depends on your situation as to which you'd prefer to do that. But using the combination of WooRank and Pingdom really gives you that ideal baseline from which you can start to refine and optimize your website and really set it up for future improvements in traffic generation, whether it be when you send pay-per-click advertising, display advertising to your website, how people can respond to it, how fast it loads, the usability, user experience of that, but also long-term in terms of how to generate search engine traffic, get your website optimized for superior organic results in all of the search engines. These two tools are going to give you that baseline so that you can continue to optimize it further. So guys, hopefully that was of help. Let me know if you enjoy the video or if you have any questions or anything like that. And if you want to get a lot more in-depth training in terms of the step-by-step protocols to follow in terms of how to get fast, instant traffic to your website as well as long-term traffic, click the button below this video and get access to Total Traffic Blueprint today. You'll get a lot more detail, you'll get access to myself and my team, and we can guide you through how to optimize your website and how to really set yourself up for success from day one. So click the button below the video. Hope you've enjoyed the video, guys, and meantime, look forward to seeing you on the inside. Have a great day. See you soon.